Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am the host, John Cartwright. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic that may be familiar to you, but I want to go into it in a little bit more depth, and that is sort of this life in the zone or in flow states. And a lot of the time, you probably have heard about flow states in the zone in athletes because really that's where most of the money is sort of being pumped into it, is to get athletes into the optimal state of mind and feeling when they're playing sport, because anyone who's played sport and has ever experienced being in the zone, it's so fun. It's like time stands still and you're just working without thinking. And like my old sport of basketball and tennis, it's that you're just totally present, and if someone asks you afterwards what you're thinking about, you kind of like nothing. I just was in the zone. Or you're just hitting tennis shots and there's just no thought. All you can see is space and time on the court. And the thing that people don't talk about very much is that you can actually bring that into all areas of your life. And a lot of the times, in my opinion, people know about these terms, but they don't really know how to access it for themselves. And so that's what I want you to get out of today. I'm going to actually just give a basic rundown of what you probably already know about the zone, but then how do you actually go about trying to make some changes for yourself and bringing that sort of feeling of the zone and being in flow states into all areas of your life, because it's actually possible. And we're going to go through the three major things to go through in order to access the zone. Because that's the most important thing. It's the how-to. So I guess the first thing, if you are unfamiliar with what the zone is and being in the zone, the basic thing on a graph, if we showed, along the bottom, if we sort of said, the level of your skills, okay? So if we set on a graph along the horizontal axis being skills, and then if we set on the vertical axis kind of the challenge or the task, quite simply, if you have, say, not enough skill for the level of the task, then you're likely to kind of experience anxiety. If you have too much skill for the level of the task, then you kind of experience boredom. So really, how these models of the zone really has it that if you can find that good balance between your level of skill and the degree of difficulty of the task, then that's where you can kind of live in this and get access to the zone. But intellectually, you can understand that. It's like, okay, that's kind of how we would analyze it in reverse, but it doesn't really give you an access as to how you go, okay, I need more skill for the level of the task. Like, okay, I guess that's my next action, but it's not really direct enough to actually, like, what do I go to work on? So this is where we're going to introduce that conversation of what's the 3 C's that we've got to take care of, okay? And the 3 C's for living a life in the zone. And I mean that you can live life in flow states and in the zone in all areas of your life. It doesn't just have to be kind of the sporting arena. It can be business. It can be relationships. It can be like personal endeavors. Whatever you're up to in life, you can access the zone or the flow states in all areas. And these 3 C's, number 1 is clarity. Number 2 is competency. And number 3 is consistency. If you have a balance in all those areas, then you'll experience life in the zone or experience the zone and flow states. Now, if you're not experiencing it, one of those 3 areas is going to be out, or all 3 of them. And it's an easy way to go back and say, what do I need? Do I need more of clarity? Do I need more competency? Or do I need more consistency? Because your answers will generally be in one of those 3. So let's break those down a little bit. In terms of clarity, now clarity is a few different things. It's in terms of your goal, like where are you actually going to? And can you be as detailed as possible about what that is? Now, like whether or not you want to go into believe in manifestation and all that sort of stuff about the universe delivering your goals to you or whatever, the first thing I'd say to you is like having worked with individuals that are amazing at, say, manifesting. They say what they're going to do and it happens. You've seen like, I'll give an example of like, say Muhammad Ali, like telling you what round he's going to knock someone out at and what fashion he's going to do it in. It's pretty amazing when someone says something like that and they back it up, and they can't do it without having lived in these kind of in the zone, if you like, having these 3 C's under their belt. But the more clarity that you can bring to something, the more you can access your environment kind of setting itself up for you to win, because what happens is it's like you put on the right pair of glasses so that you can see things. It's almost like it's like when you put on these kind of pair of glasses, the more clarity you have, now you can just only see you can just see all the things that are going to forward your game. So that clarity and knowing where you're going is important. So clarity on your goals and your why. So clarity on your why is important. There's that cheesy saying that like, hey, if you show me a big enough why, I can show you the how. That really is true. If you came to me with a big enough why, I can give you the how, just about any area, because actually the how-to, whether it's in business, whether it's in performance, it's actually all the same thing. If you go and speak to an elite business person or even someone who's amazing at relationships, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. It's just, I guess, for us, it's always like money and sport because, that's what everyone probably wants more of. It's that fame and fortune that everyone's after. So it's where you hear about it the most. But hey, relationships quite possibly be the most important thing that we're not putting enough attention on. So clarity, like exactly how do you want that to look? And the why, a big enough why. I'll show you the how. It's easy. So if you don't have that, like if you're not making progress on things and everything's hard, sometimes you just got to go back to clarity. Get certain on what you want. Like, what is it? And some people can't even dream. Like someone near and dear to me, we've had chats about what do they want and they can't even dream. They haven't bothered to even dream anymore because it's like, oh God, like I just don't want to be let down, or I almost don't want the pressure on myself to come up with like, what do I actually want? Because if I got it, then what? It would seem scary if I got exactly what I'm after. So, you might think that clarity is sort of like, oh yeah, I want to be like lose this amount of weight or I want to earn this amount of money. It's like, no, if you take that serious, it's the first one. It's for a reason because it's the most important. Your second one then is competency. So competency only comes by looking at the skills that you need to work on, or if you're in certain areas, it's actually learning how to get the skills to find the individuals that can help you on your task. Because, for instance, some of the people that I know that run the biggest empires, if you like, business-wise, I had a chap that I was working with on an injury, and one day he kind of just casually slipped into conversation that he was out to a work lunch that day because yesterday we just sold one of our businesses for $400 million. Now, up until that point, I guess judging the book by its cover, I've learned to not do that. But with this individual, I certainly wouldn't have picked he had just sold a business for $400 million because he was pretty lax. It would be how I say he dressed. It's like bowling shirts and cargo pants and boat shoes. Pretty unruly hair. So I got to asking him, when you're looking at businesses, is it just about seeing the figures? Can you just see businesses are underperforming? And is that actually where buying and selling businesses all comes down to? He says, John, I used to think that. And I used to lose a lot of money and I would make a lot of money and then lose it inevitably. He said the biggest secret was me developing skills in talent spotting. He said, if you can put the right person in the right opportunity, he's like, that's when I actually learned how to make millions and millions of dollars. So that wasn't him developing more and more skills, from a business standpoint, that competency and things could be that you need to develop skills yourself, the actual how-to, or it's developing other skills of looking at things through a different lens. How do I spot talent? It might be how do I go about doing these processes that will actually unlock all of the potential of something? When you're looking at, say, sport, a lot of the time it's a hard thing to sort of keep a balance between, do I just work on my strengths or do I work on my weaknesses? Because everyone focuses on weaknesses, but sometimes it's just strengths, getting the competency on your strengths even better so that your weaknesses no longer become as weak or as big an opening because someone just can't even dominate you. So it's one of those things that again, for competency, you got to pick what's the things that I need competency in the most, Because once I've got clarity of what I want, then it's like I've just got to develop competency. I've got to develop the skills and the things that I need. And then even if you find the right skills and the things that you know you need to work on, like what are the things I need for competency, then the third C is consistency. And so it sounds rather simple, and it seems like competency would be consistency as well, but it's really, there's still two separate things. Your consistency over time. If you look at just about any area, everyone will say to you, like let's say sport, for instance, people will say it's the fundamentals and it's doing the little things consistently over a long period of time that will get you somewhere. And it just seems boring when people say it enough. And it's boring because it's the truth. People don't want it to be the case. They want to like just have an amazing day where everything clicks every single day, and it just doesn't happen. It's consistency that opens up everything. If you ask anyone with weight training, what's the biggest secret? You know, like I have a look on the internet at the moment, and you've got, or in particular, I'll look at social media, and you've got everybody out there. You've got these roided up guys trying to tell you the best hypertrophy programs to get you jacked. And all these individuals are like, if it's not clear, like if you don't realize most of these people are on steroids, there's an epidemic in steroids at the moment. In particular, if someone looks jacked and on steroids, they're on steroids. So their hypertrophy program for you isn't really appropriate unless you're on the gear. But if you truly ask them, hey, what's the secret to working out and getting a good body? It's consistency. Like, you know, being consistent with diet and consistently lifting weights over a long enough period of time, you'll get somewhere. Or you'll certainly, even if you're not on the juice and you're not trying to get absolutely jacked, you'll kind of find what your potential of your body is. You know, you'll find out the potential of your genetics. And so if you're in business and you've looked at those skills that you need, like this skill for me, like talking on camera, I'm getting better at it, but man, I it's the consistency, me doing this over and over again. It's taken me so many reps to even just get to this level. Now, if you're experienced, you might be like, hey, that guy's got so far to go. If you're not, you might be like, hey, that guy's been doing it forever. But I haven't been doing it for very long at all. But every time I put in the reps and be consistent, I'm getting somewhere. You know, I'm getting better at it. But consistency on its own doesn't really matter if you haven't got these other two in place. So this one will be hopefully be short and sweet here, this podcast, because really it kind of comes back to these three things. I don't need to waffle on about it too much more. These 3 C's are your ticket to life in the zone, where all of these 3, clarity, competency, and consistency meet up. That's where the zone lives. And so, you know, instead of kind of going off those basic definitions of the zone, any area of your life that you're not getting the results that you want, or you're not getting there as fast as you'd like, or whatever, all you need to do is go back and be honest with yourself first, or get an outside view on something, because this is where someone like myself helps like elite athletes and business people, but I help everyday people go from wherever they are to where they want to get to. Because sometimes, you know, someone goes, oh yeah, I'm really clear on what I want. And then I say, okay, well, like, you know, tell me what you want. And they say, okay, I want to make $1 million in the next 12 months. I say, okay, well, what's the breakdown of that? What are you going to do month on month? Like, well, I don't really know. I just want to make $1 million. Okay. So it's just straight away, I'm going, okay, we need so much more clarity here. Or they say I might want to make $1 million in the next 12 months. Okay, what skills do you need? What are you lacking? And like, oh, I don't really know what I'm just going to hire someone. So how are you going to know who you're hiring? Like, how are you going to know that they're fulfilling what you need them to fulfill? How do you know they're going to be competent? You know, it's not to be mean. It's just to shine a light on people, to be like, oh man, there's all these things that I'm missing, that actually those are the things that I'm missing. That's why I don't have what I want. But once that you can shine a light on them, all of a sudden the potential for you just expands exponentially. But if you can find it yourself, then great. You don't need an outside eye. But most of the time, a fast track is to have someone like myself just give you like shine a light on the things you can't see. And so, you know, it's why I always go back to that saying that you have far more potential than you know how to unlock on your own. because your potential lies in the things that you don't know that you don't know. It's the things that you can't see. Or it's the defining things more and getting it really fine-tuned and making you really say, what's your why? What's your clarity? What do you want and why do you want it? It's what skills do you want and where are you lacking? What do you need to learn? How are you going to get that talent in to help you? How are you going to scale this? Then the last piece of the puzzle is just like consistency. How are you going to set your life up to be able to continually do this on a consistent basis for long enough? If you get these three parts, it seems like a lot of work, but I can tell you life in the zone or life in flow states, if you just ask athletes what that's like, it's just like this drug that you want to get back to. And a lot of people get to live it all the time. But a lot of the time, say I'm working with elite athletes or elite business people, most of the time they don't need to talk to me about how to get their business better or how to be kind of better at their performance. It might be like, hey, my relationships suck. Like I've got some other things falling apart and I don't know how to get a hold on that. One individual that I worked with quite some time ago now, this man had more money than I could ever dream of earning. And little old me comes to me for my advice, but his relationship with his partner was no good. And it only kind of got onto that with us working together. But for him, it was some basic things that he could use what he'd been successful in something else and just apply it to his marriage. And it was like, I couldn't believe he couldn't see that. He's so brilliant at doing it in business, but we just broke down why he was so good at certain things in business and just said, well, what if you applied that to your relationship? Now to him, I don't know how much money he's made, but that value that I provided to him for that might have been like far better than some of his business deals that he's ever made because, what's more important than the love of his partner and his children? Because children weren't talking to him at the time. So in a nutshell, these 3 C's are your ticket to living a life in flow states as in the zone. You have to have all 3. You need clarity, you need competency, and you need consistency. That is your ticket to life in the zone and in flow states. If you have any questions, as always, reach out to me. I am here. I am traveling around the country right now. I'm in a studio at the moment. I will be back in the caravan for the next kind of month or so. So you'll probably see me on tour a little bit more rather than in the studio setup. But yeah, reach out to me. I have time on my hands for a little bit. So yeah, reach out by all means. The life of your dreams is just around the corner. It's just all that's between you and it is some action and direction. That's it. So for now, it's bye from me.